Yara Zaya thought her life in the US was finally on track. She had a stable home, her daughter by her side, and a marriage that fans watched and rooted for on reality TV. But in a single phone call, everything changed. Her green card was denied, not just delayed or put on hold, denied. And worse, the court gave her 30 days to leave the country. Panic set in instantly. You could see it in her eyes, that raw fear of losing everything she had fought for, of being torn from her child. Joy, sitting beside her, looked helpless and guilty, knowing that even his love and support couldn't fix this. Could love survive when the law is this unforgiving? Every dream they had built together felt fragile, like it could shatter in an instant. Yara's mind raced through endless possibilities, while Joy replayed every choice he thought had been right, questioning if he could have done something differently. This wasn't just about paperwork. It was about a family on the brink, exposed to forces far beyond their control. Wait till you hear what Joy did next. It will shock you. Yara Zaya and Joy Duren's story started as a picture-perfect romance for reality TV fans. They had moments that seemed pulled straight from a fairy tale, smiles, laughs, a beautiful daughter, and the kind of connection that viewers rooted for. On the surface, everything looked stable. Fans saw a couple who, despite living under the scrutiny of cameras, seemed to have figured out a rhythm. But reality TV has a way of hiding cracks beneath the gloss. Their stability was always fragile, balanced between public expectations, personal struggles, and the pressure of a life constantly documented. Even before the green card drama, Yara and Joy had navigated difficult waters. There were lifestyle differences that caused small but persistent friction. Joy, raised in a family with strict routines and defined rules, sometimes clashed with Yara's spontaneous, spirited approach to life. Their disagreements often felt amplified because every moment was under a lens, every emotional reaction replayed for millions to dissect. Fans sympathized when Yara faced personal loss. The heartbreak of a pregnancy that didn't go as planned left both of them emotionally raw. Those experiences could have brought them closer, but they also laid the groundwork for tension, showing how even strong love can be tested by relentless external pressures. The bureaucratic trigger came seemingly out of nowhere, yet it had been quietly building in the background. Yara's green card interview, something that many couples treat as a procedural hurdle, became a turning point. Minor missteps, a forgotten document, a missed email, a small misunderstanding about forms, snowballed into a life-altering event. The couple thought they were prepared. They believed following the rules and staying organized would shield them from disaster. But legal systems rarely reward assumption or good intentions. In the blink of an eye, their careful plans collided with an unforgiving bureaucracy. Family tension added another layer of stress. Joy's relatives had always been vocal about their opinions, sometimes supportive, sometimes critical. Now, in the wake of Yara's legal uncertainty, their voices grew louder. Concerns that were once background noise became pressure points. Are we doing enough? Could we have prevented this? Their judgment weighed heavily on Joy, amplifying his guilt and making every decision feel like a potential mistake. For Yara, the stakes were even more personal. Her daughter's safety, her right to remain in the country, and the fear of uprooting the child from the life she had known became a constant source of anxiety. The contrast between their public image and private reality couldn't have been starker. On camera, they appeared composed, smiling, even joyful at times. Behind closed doors, they were navigating fear, uncertainty, and anger at a system that seemed impossible to negotiate. The life that seemed smooth, almost enviable to viewers, was quietly teetering on the edge of crisis. Every missed deadline and every misfiled document was a potential avalanche, and for Yara, the consequences were nothing less than existential. Even minor actions became magnified under these conditions. A casual conversation about paperwork turned into hours of worry. A late response to a notice felt like the world was collapsing. Fans watching at home couldn't see the tension building in real time. The small, quiet moments of panic, the sleepless nights, the conversations filled with what-ifs. But these were the moments that shaped what was coming next. And then, the court date arrived. Yara, Joy, and their attorney walked in thinking they had prepared for every scenario. Every form checked, every potential question anticipated, every previous misstep documented. But what Yara faced in court wasn't anything they prepared for. The official decision, the tone of the judge, the way small details became huge legal consequences, none of it resembled the controlled preparation they had rehearsed. One moment, she was a mother fighting for her family. The next, she was a woman staring down a system that showed no flexibility, no empathy, and no regard for the emotional stakes at play. The contrast between their life before and this moment couldn't have been more intense. A marriage that had survived personal tragedies, public judgment, and daily pressures was now tested by a force completely outside their control. Their private struggles were no longer private. Every fan reaction, every comment on social media, every snippet of footage became part of the pressure cooker. And Yara's anxiety wasn't abstract, it was immediate, tangible, and terrifying. As they left the courtroom, neither of them spoke much. Joy's guilt was almost visible, as if each step reminded him of what he might have done differently. Yara clutched her daughter, trying to project calm while her mind raced through worst-case scenarios. Every detail of that day, the hallway, the paperwork, the judge's words, etched itself into their memory, a reminder of how delicate stability can be. They knew the next steps would require more than preparation. They would need resilience, strategy, and perhaps a bit of luck. The public didn't see the exhaustion, the quiet tears, the whispered conversations about what might happen next. But these were the real stakes, the ones that defined the couple far more than any camera angle or edited clip. What Yara faced in court wasn't anything they prepared for. Yara spent her nights staring at the ceiling, her mind refusing to slow down. Every little sound, the creak of the floor, the distant hum of traffic, felt amplified. It wasn't insomnia, it was panic in motion. She thought about deadlines, notices, interviews, the looming threat of deportation. She imagined her daughter waking up to an empty room, the life they knew ripped apart by a decision she couldn't control. Could any parent face this and feel calm? Could anyone? Her body ached from tension, yet her mind raced faster than ever, skipping from one worst-case scenario to another. Sleep became a stranger, and each passing hour deepened the dread. Joy wasn't sleeping much either. Unlike Yara, he had a different kind of torment, the weight of helplessness. He tried to stay positive, to reassure her, to research options, but every suggestion felt insufficient. He saw the panic in Yara's eyes and knew no amount of advice or support could erase the fear clawing at her. Public scrutiny made it worse. Every social media comment, every fan theory, every whisper from the outside world turned into pressure. People were dissecting every action, every expression, and it felt like judgment was raining down from every direction. Joy's frustration grew, sometimes spilling out in muted anger, other times in silent withdrawal. He wanted to fight the system, but the system didn't play fair. Meanwhile, Yara's phone never stopped buzzing. Notifications of people speculating, arguing, sympathizing, and judging arrived one after another. Every mention of her name felt like a sharp reminder that her personal crisis had become public property. Could anyone really remain composed when the world is watching your fear? Could love survive when strangers comment on what's happening in your family? Each notification sent her heart racing. Each comment felt like a tiny hand squeezing at her chest. Fans were divided, some empathetic, others skeptical, but all made her feel exposed in ways that went far beyond reality TV drama. And just when they thought they might catch a breath, another shock appeared. An update from her attorney revealed procedural complications that could delay hearings, potentially shortening the timeline for appeals. Yara's hands shook as she read the email. Joy's jaw tightened, a flash of helplessness crossing his features. In that moment, the camera's eye, or even the imagined eye of the public, didn't matter. It was just them, staring at a future that seemed impossible to predict. The emotional toll wasn't just about paperwork, it was about identity, belonging, family. Yara's entire life, her connections, her home, everything she had built for her daughter, suddenly felt conditional. Joy's guilt was visible, a quiet storm inside him. He questioned himself constantly. Could he have done something differently? Was there a step he overlooked? Every what if echoed in their small apartment, bouncing off walls and into their nerves. Watching her panic, he felt powerless to change reality. Social media added fuel to the fire. Clips of the green card interview, snippets from past episodes, and fan theories about their relationship spread online. Some fans expressed sympathy, others accused them of negligence. Each comment, each post, became a microdrama, intensifying their stress. Could a family ever feel safe when judgment is relentless, instantaneous, and global? Yara read the messages quietly, often putting her phone down with tears in her eyes. Joy, trying to remain composed, sometimes found himself scrolling just to see what people were saying, his frustration only deepening. Amid the chaos, small moments of hope surfaced, but they were fleeting. A supportive message from a friend, a kind comment on social media, or a helpful suggestion from a lawyer created temporary relief. But it never lasted long. There was always another twist, another bureaucratic hurdle, another deadline looming. The emotional pendulum swung violently between despair and fragile optimism, leaving them exhausted and raw. Their arguments, though rare, were sharp when they came. Yara's fear sometimes expressed itself as anger, directed at the system, at Joy, or even herself. Joy's frustration often appeared as impatience, a desperate attempt to control what couldn't be controlled. Yet these conflicts weren't petty, they were reactions to extraordinary stress. Anyone else in their position might have done the same. Could anyone stay rational when everything they loved was threatened? The stakes weren't abstract. They were tangible, human, immediate. Fans watching online couldn't fully grasp the magnitude of this. Comments ranged from empathy to criticism. But for Yara and Joy, every opinion was magnified. Being on reality TV meant that no private moment stayed private. Every tear, every whispered conversation, every silent panic attack was fodder for public consumption. The pressure was relentless, the emotional drain exhausting. How does a family survive when fear becomes a constant companion? And just when they thought the worst was over, a new twist appeared. An unexpected procedural notice arrived, complicating the timing of the appeal. Yara's shoulders slumped, Joy's face tightened. The room felt smaller, suffocating even, as they realized that the process they thought they understood had its own hidden rules. Every day became a countdown, each one filled with uncertainty, tension, and heartache. Yara found herself questioning everything. Could she trust anyone? Could she rely on the system that had failed her so publicly? Her thoughts spiraled, dragging her back to moments she wished she could erase. Miscommunications, minor paperwork errors, overlooked emails. Every detail felt like a mistake she couldn't fix. The weight of responsibility to protect her child, to remain in the country, and to maintain some sense of dignity pressed down on her relentlessly. Joy, on the other hand, wrestled with a different kind of torment. Guilt and helplessness intertwined with love. Could he have prevented this? Should he have been more vigilant? Every protective instinct collided with the reality that they were at the mercy of rules and procedures far beyond their control. Watching Yara suffer was like witnessing an earthquake destroy the foundation of a life he was trying to hold together. Amid all this, moments of connection emerged. A quiet evening spent holding their daughter, sharing fears without words, finding small comfort in each other's presence. These became lifelines. For a brief moment, the world outside faded, but even in those moments, tension lingered like smoke in the air. How long could such fragile calm last? Social media continued to react, some posts supportive, others critical, each intensifying the couple's emotions. It wasn't just a personal struggle anymore, it had become a public trial, magnified and distorted by viewers who knew only fragments of the story. Each day brought new stress, new anxiety, and new emotional peaks. Could they ever find a day where the fear paused? And just when they allowed themselves a small breath, yet another unexpected update hit. Court procedures shifted, deadlines adjusted, timelines tightened. Yara's panic returned with renewed force. Joy's attempts to steady her became increasingly desperate. Every phone call, every notification, every minor update became a high-stakes moment. Life felt like a pressure cooker, ready to explode at any misstep. They faced sleepless nights, public scrutiny, and relentless bureaucracy. Yara clutched her daughter, afraid of the future, afraid of leaving, afraid of losing the life she had worked to build. Joy wrestled with guilt, frustration, and the burden of being unable to shield his family. Their love was tested, stretched, and threatened in ways few could imagine. Could they survive this emotional storm? Would the law allow them to stay together, or would fear and circumstance tear them apart? The emotional roller coaster didn't stop there. Every update, every rumor, every comment acted like a spark to an already tense fire. The couple experienced fear, anger, and heartbreak simultaneously. Yara questioned herself constantly, and Joy's frustration only deepened as he tried to act in the only ways he could, through support, reassurance, and persistent hope. And just when they thought they could find a temporary calm, the system reminded them that uncertainty was their new reality. Another legal notice, another potential deadline, another layer of fear. The roller coaster continued, leaving them emotionally raw, yet determined to navigate the storm for the sake of their family. Their nights of panic, the weight of public opinion, and the crushing pressure of bureaucracy all merged into one relentless wave. Each day, each hour, each notification carried the potential to upend their fragile equilibrium. They were human, exposed, and undeniably vulnerable in ways reality TV rarely captured fully. Would you leave your child behind for legal rules? Could anyone endure this without breaking? Yara and Joy were living that question every single day, with every emotion intensified by the public eye and the invisible hand of the law. And just when they thought a brief reprieve might exist, a new complication emerged, reminding them that nothing was ever simple, predictable, or safe. The courtroom was quiet, but the tension inside Yara's chest was deafening. Sitting there, facing officials who had no interest in television ratings or fan opinions, she realized fame offered no protection. The denial letter had been clear. Procedural errors, missed deadlines, and questions about documentation had stacked against her. It was technical, bureaucratic, precise, but for her it wasn't just words on paper. It was a ticking clock threatening to separate her from the life she had built. Her daughter's laughter, her family routines, every small moment suddenly felt fragile. Joy sat beside her, hands clasped so tightly his knuckles were white. Watching Yara wrestle with fear made every decision weigh heavier. Should he argue every point, push for an appeal, or try to negotiate? Each path carried risk. The courtroom offered no sympathetic camera angles, no sympathetic audience. Here, actions mattered more than intentions. Could he make the right moves under this kind of pressure? The guilt he carried was visible, silent, but potent. He had always tried to be the protector, the problem solver, the one to manage crises. Yet, this wasn't just a relationship challenge. It was a legal storm, and he was forced to navigate waters that didn't bend to love or popularity. Public scrutiny intensified the pressure. Clips of the green card interview had already gone viral, leaving people judging every expression, every hesitated word. Reality TV had trained them for attention, but this attention came with stakes far beyond ratings. Comments online suggested negligence, questioned intentions, even debated the authenticity of their emotions. None of that mattered to the law, but it amplified stress to nearly unbearable levels. Yara couldn't help but read some of the posts, and each one twisted the knife a little deeper. Fans could sympathize, but they didn't live the constant anxiety of every passing day, every looming legal deadline. The judge's questions were direct. Every hesitation, every correction, felt magnified under the cold fluorescent lights of the courtroom. Procedural details that might have seemed minor months ago were now the reason Yara faced potential deportation. Could paperwork errors really carry this much weight? For anyone outside the system, it might seem excessive, but for Yara and Joy, it was terrifyingly real. The fear wasn't abstract. It was immediate, actionable, and threatening to tear the family apart. Joy's strategy in the courtroom was cautious but assertive. He spoke when he needed to, offered clarifications, and tried to emphasize Yara's commitment to follow all rules and regulations. Every sentence he formed carried double weight, legal significance, and emotional reassurance. Watching him maneuver, Yara felt a mixture of pride and helplessness. He was fighting for them, but he couldn't shield her from the very system they were caught in. How much could one person protect against the machinery of bureaucracy? Yara's coping strategies were quieter, more internal. She focused on breathing, grounding herself when panic threatened to take over, and trying to visualize steps forward rather than letting fear dominate. Every silent pause, every controlled glance was her way of claiming some sense of control in a situation that offered very little. But even her best efforts couldn't erase the gnawing anxiety. Could she maintain composure long enough to influence the outcome? Could love and patience outweigh the rigid structures of the legal system? Outside the courtroom, the storm didn't relent. Social media continued to buzz with speculation, fan debates, and occasional support messages. Every notification felt like a test. The contrast between the polished image of reality TV and the stark reality of bureaucratic rules had never been more apparent. Cameras might capture dramatic confrontations, but they couldn't capture the suffocating fear of potentially losing custody of a child, or the gnawing guilt of making a single procedural misstep. Fame could generate applause, but it couldn't generate immunity. Emotional stakes escalated with each passing moment. Yara's thoughts constantly returned to her daughter. What would happen if she were forced to leave? Could Joy manage without her? Would they be able to maintain stability? These weren't hypothetical questions. They were urgent, immediate, and terrifying. Each thought tightened the knot of anxiety she carried, reminding her that the consequences of bureaucracy were deeply personal, life-altering, and irreversible if mishandled. Joy, too, wrestled with conflicting impulses. He wanted to stay rational, to remain the calm center for Yara and their daughter. But inside, a storm brewed. Could he keep his composure while ensuring he did everything possible to protect the family? Could he anticipate every potential setback and respond quickly enough? The courtroom didn't allow for mistakes, yet human error is unavoidable. Every minor pause, every question misread, carried potential consequences far beyond the immediate moment. The audience watching from afar, or even the fans following online, couldn't fully understand the layers of stress. Court drama in television shows often resolves neatly, but real life doesn't grant neat solutions. Yara and Joy were forced to confront uncertainty at every turn. Legal procedures, deadlines, and technical requirements overshadowed personal intentions. Even the strongest relationship, the deepest love, had to contend with a system that didn't bend to emotion. Every step in the proceedings revealed just how unforgiving the system could be. Missed deadlines, technical errors, documentation questions, all of it reinforced the reality that love and fame weren't shields. The courtroom was impartial, and its decisions were based on law, not emotion, not popularity, not past sacrifices. Could they find a way to align their hopes with the rigid structure they faced? Or was every move going to be a delicate dance with potential disaster? Yara's moments of fear were punctuated by flashes of determination. She understood that composure and careful presentation could influence perceptions, even if it couldn't change the letter of the law. She reminded herself constantly that her daughter's well-being was the ultimate priority, and every choice needed to reflect that. Could she navigate the complexities while keeping her emotions in check? Every decision carried weight that went beyond the courtroom walls, extending into the future of her family. Joy's behavior highlighted the strain of balancing support with problem-solving. He tried to absorb the emotional weight, translate it into actionable steps, and shield Yara whenever possible. Yet he knew he couldn't control outcomes, only influence them. The tension between wanting to protect and acknowledging helplessness created a constant emotional push and pull. Every small victory in clarity or understanding of procedure felt like a reprieve, only to be overshadowed by new complications. Meanwhile, the public continued to speculate. Fans dissected every image, every caption, every post. Reality TV might show drama in staged moments, but this was real life, real stakes, real fear, real consequences. The system wasn't performing for the camera, and there were no retakes, no edits, no opportunity to pause. Every decision was live, binding, and immediate. Could anyone truly prepare for a system this unyielding? And yet, even amid the pressure, moments of human resilience appeared. Small smiles shared between Yara and her daughter, brief exchanges of reassurance with Joy, fleeting moments where fear seemed to ease. These became essential anchors. But they were fragile, temporary, and constantly threatened by the next procedural notice, the next legal complication, the next unforeseen twist. Could love and family hold firm when the law was this unforgiving? Every page of documents reviewed, every answer given in court, every strategic decision made outside the courtroom reinforced one stark truth: fame might attract attention, but it couldn't protect against legal consequences. The human stakes were non-negotiable, deeply personal, and unyielding. Yara and Joy had to operate in this harsh reality while managing their emotions, public perception, and the unpredictable flow of bureaucracy. As each day passed, the question remained: could Yara really stay without risking her child's safety? Could their love survive under relentless legal scrutiny? Each hearing, each update, each calculated step brought them closer to answers, yet the path forward was anything but certain. One misstep, one overlooked detail, and the fragile equilibrium of their family could shatter. The courtroom had shown them a sobering truth: the law doesn't bend for emotion, for fame, or for public sympathy. It evaluates evidence, procedures, and deadlines with precision. Yara and Joy were now acutely aware that navigating this reality required courage, patience, and resilience. But even with all their effort, uncertainty lingered like a shadow over every decision, every moment, and every interaction. Could they endure this storm without losing themselves or each other? Would procedural mistakes, public scrutiny, and fear of separation proved too heavy to bear. Yara's future, her daughter's well-being, and the very fabric of their family life hung in the balance, leaving everyone watching with bated breath. Everyone on Instagram thinks they know the whole story.